Hello folks, we're on the flight deck. We're enjoying a nice ride in the Mooney. We being me. It's a solo trip this time. I managed to get off on a post call day, and so I was able to run up to Waukegan, Illinois, just north of Chicago, to get some work done on the Mooney. It had the cowling modified to a more modern style, but after the mod, we were disappointed to find that the engine was running a little bit hot. Not bad, just not where I wanted it. Not up in the yellow or the red, but we like to keep temperatures in the sub 400 degree range on these engines. And yeah, 405, 410 if I pushed it hard. But I tried not to push it hard. Now pushing it hard, I'm getting 370 degrees. So that's a happy improvement. And at 1,000 feet, I'm getting a true airspeed of between 142 and 143 knots, burning a little over 9 gallons an hour. So that's hard to beat. As you can see, there's not much to look at outside. There's wings on either side, but not much past them. These clouds are actually fairly thin. I'll point the camera up and you can see. We can see the sun from here, but not clearly. Now the good news is, these clouds are not really loaded with a whole lot of water. And even though it is below freezing outside, I'm not building any ice at all. The outside air temperature is 9 degrees below 0 Celsius. It's about 10 degrees. I've got 2 different thermometers that show temperature. And the one that shows Fahrenheit shows 10 degrees. I know it's probably not exactly a perfect conversion. So they do vary by a couple of degrees between each other. So if you're checking my math, that's the deal. I took a flight one time. I mentioned it in other videos, a trip down to Haiti and back in this airplane. And coming back, we flew through a snowstorm, and it was temperatures in the air about like what I'm dealing with now, and just like then, or just like now, we're collecting no ice, which is exactly as much ice as I want to collect. None. As we get further south, it may get a little warmer, and I may have to deal with it a little bit. I hope not. My game plan is to do a UE and come back and find some place to land if that is the case. Got enough fuel to get to wherever I need to get to. But when you're flying, you always have contingencies. What if? What will I do if? And so, if you don't, you're not flying ahead of the airplane. That's what we like to say. Are you ahead of the plane or not? And I intend to be ahead of the plane.
Attention all request information uniform now current at Indy wind 280 altimeter 3022.
I haven't gotten a lot in the way of questions lately. I did get asked again about my longest trip, and I said, hey, look at my old video. So it's kind of fun to be able to say, you know, I've already addressed that. It's already up. Take a look. Next week, I plan to fly this airplane down to Texas for its annual inspection. And that'll be about a 5-hour trip. That will, on the way down at least, require a stop for gas, because I know I'll be battling headwinds. Winds, what we call prevailing winds, generally run from the west to the east. And so anytime you're headed west, you're fighting a headwind. When you turn around and come home, unless you're unlucky, like I get sometimes, you could get a good tailwind. Like the time that I flew out, I took a trip out to visit my friend Grant for his birthday, and it was a surprise trip. He did not know we were coming. His wife did, because I didn't want to show up and him not be there, so I coordinated with her. He was an awesome sport about it. And so Libby, who was 4 at the time, my oldest daughter, she and I loaded up in this airplane. And I had some oxygen. And off we went. She had an iPad and things to draw on, and she was in good shape. So we snuck out, and we made it. And this is completely legal. We made it all the way out there without talking to air traffic controllers or filing flight plans or anything. If you're flying in visual flight rules, what we call VFR, you are not required to have a flight plan filed in the continental United States at all. Flight plans for VFR flight are for finding your crash site if you happen to crash. So we made it out, except that as I was flying by Tulsa, Oklahoma, I figured I should call them and talk to them. So I did, and they transitioned me through their airspace, gave me a squawk code for the transponder, and we made it through, and then quit talking to them and went on after we were out of their airspace. And the funny thing was, my friend...
4370 November, contact Cincinnati, approach 123.87, good day.
2387, good day, 09 November. Cincinnati approach, good afternoon, Mooney 3709 November 11000.
3709 November, Cincinnati approach, good afternoon, September 3021.
3021, 09 November. So, if you want to track an airplane, you can set up flightaware.com to send you a message anytime that particular tail number shows up in the air traffic control system. And my friend had done that, and oddly enough, it popped up a message when I was going through Tulsa, and he looked at his wife and he said, "I wonder what Wayne's doing in Tulsa." That was his only clue. Until his wife was driving him to town, and she said, "Oh, let's go up this way," and drove up to a little airport in town, and suddenly he knew something was up, for sure. It was a cool surprise. But the point of all that is actually on the return trip. So normally I don't flight plan more than about 500, 550 miles in this airplane, just because, for one thing, 500 is, it can do more than that, but you're not playing with a lot of margin in case you have problems. You don't have a lot of backup fuel, you might say. And after a while, the bladder just says, no, that's a bad idea. But this day, there were rocking winds coming out of the west. I think I had a 70 knot push. And so, or at least part of it. So we loaded up, topped off the oxygen bottles before we took off, and climbed up in this little airplane with my 4-year-old and me to 17,000 feet, 17,000 feet, and had our oxygen on, and throttled back, and sat there, covering the ground at probably 170 or 180 knots, burning about 7 gallons an hour, if I recall correctly. And we made it as far as Clarksville, Tennessee, from southwest Colorado, with an hour of fuel remaining in the tanks. It took us a little over 6 hours. Now, you might think that might be hard on the bladder, and for me it was, but for Libby, well, we had planned this, so we had her in a pull-up. And as I'm coming in to land, I turn to her and I say, "Hey Libby, aren't you glad you're wearing a pull-up?" She looked at me with this pained expression. 4 years old. Said, "I didn't use it." "Are you serious, kid?" "Yeah."
5183 and about 20 miles.
So we get landed. She's actually whimpering a little bit at this point. I think her ears were also bothering her. And pull up to the gas tank, and
183 Roger, maintain 900,000.
He says, "Daddy, Can you carry me to the bathroom?
King Air 5 Papa Charlie, same thing with you in about...
Poor kid had to go so bad she was afraid to walk. Even though she had a pull-up, she just didn't want to use it.
Down about 5 miles.
So anyway, that was I think about 1,100 nautical miles, which was a really, really long leg. That's the longest single leg that I've flown in this airplane. Again, it was because I had a really good tailwind. So anyway, I think I'm gonna wind this down, return to aviating. This is a fairly boring part of the flight, so it's a good time to make a video. And I will edit this down, make it a little more smooth, maybe. Maybe I won't. And then post it this evening. So hope you guys are doing well. And as always, send me suggestions for videos. Let me know what you want to see. Take care. Bye.